Hello, welcome to SAP ABAP, the Beginner's Guide, Introduction Part 2. So, as we know that SAP is an ERP, SAP came into existence to communicate with each other departments in an enterprise. For example, one of the main advantage in SAP is it contains predefined database tables as well as programs. At the same time, Ramco. All the small and medium scale industries use Ramco. Most of the tables are related to finance. So as you can see, if my company is based on advisory, I can go to Ramco. Similarly, PeopleSoft. It is a large scale. The meaning large scale is very big industries or big enterprises use PeopleSoft, and this software is good in HR. So here, as we can see, Barn, Ramco, and PeopleSoft each are good in a single domain or used for a particular module. Oracle Apps. It is also a very good application or an ERP, and it is directly a competitor to SAP. Even Oracle Apps are good in finance department, and it is large scale. So if we compare BAN, Ramco, PeopleSoft, and Oracle Apps, and we want a solution which will fit for all the domains, we can go for SAP. So what are the advantages of SAP over the other competitors? It is a large scale. Large scale in the sense a lot of domains, businesses. For example, in India it would be Reliance, and it can be American Express in USA. It is tightly and closely related to all the modules and departments, which means that all the departments can communicate with each other department instantly. For example, if I have $10 in my account and my salesperson has did a sale for $20, so as soon as there is a sale, I will get a message saying that $20 has been deposited in the bank account. So the communication is very high. For example, and also HR department can communicate with sales, sales can communicate with finance. All these are done via transactions. SAP is developed in multi languages as well as multi currencies. What does this mean? We can use SAP in Saudi in real amounts, we can use that in India, we can use that in UK, and also in US. Or else for other programs we have to write or modify our custom programs only based on the other languages, but in SAP we can log in any language. So who made SAP, or how did SAP came into existence? There were a group of 5 people or 5 IBM employees in 1972 who made a foolproof product called SAP in Germany, and almost all the almost all the functions used in SAP are already given, but very small customizations and some custom reports will be done by ABAPers. SAP is platform independent, irrespective of the operating system. You can use any operating system, and SAP will be running on all those platforms without any issue. Okay, so one of the main benefit of SAP would be SAP contains cross applications, or SAP supports cross applications. Cross applications are basically used to exchange the data among systems. For example, if I have a non-SAP system like Java and I have SAP system, so how do I communicate with non-SAP system to SAP? These are using cross applications. Okay, so these are very important things to remember. SAP ECC is a NetWeaver technology, and by default it supports the web environment. But SAP R3, it is an older version. It is not a NetWeaver product, and it doesn't support the web environment. Web environment, I mean enterprise portal, web pro applications, new concepts called Fiori. All these come under web environment. What are all the projects will I work in SAP? As an ABAP consultant, I have to work in these three kind of projects. One is end-to-end implementation projects, upgradation projects, and support projects. Now, what are end-to-end implementation projects? These are new projects where SAP is installed afresh, or I'm going to a new module, and all the reports has to be done from scratch. Coming to upgradation projects. So, for example, if my system is in 4.7 and I want to upgrade it to the latest standards, those projects are called upgradation projects. What happens in these projects basically? You have the software and the new version is installed, and a couple of developers, function consultants, and team leads will sit and check what syntaxes are absolute, what has to be modified. There will be a tool definitely for upgradation, and that tool will tell us which program or where the change is exactly needed. Now, coming to support projects. What are support projects? SAP, as I told you, was developed in 1972. And for example, if there is a software project in 1980, due to some changes, they have to make more small corrections in the programs or reports which were done in a very long time, like 1990, 2000, or it's been like 2 or 3 decades. So those kind of small changes, when it comes to us, they come as tickets. So we may be working in support projects in latest technology or older versions of ABAP. And the role of an ABAPer is to correct those changes, make those changes, test those, and then give move to production with all the new changes. Okay, so in this slide, we will talk about SAP architecture. What is a front end, what is a back end, and what is an application server. So SAP architecture is an R3 architecture. That's real time, 3 tier. Okay, let me give you an example. What is SAP architecture? As the diagram suggests, this is my front end. Here, this is the application server, and then we have a database server called as the backend as well. So whenever from the front end we trigger a request or we try to execute a report, the report gets executed in a server called application server, and the application server sends information or sends all the information or the data required to perform an operation to the database, and then fetches all the data back to the application server, and then the data from application server is presented to the presentation server via various technologies. For example, this is my normal Excel. So I would like to calculate a plus b. I have a number here 2 and then a cell value with 3, and I want the result of it. How to do this? Plus. So in this example, what have we done? We have given input 2, we have given input 3, and we want to add two numbers. That was the operation. As this Excel is local to my system, the database also resides in my system as well. And also, this is the output which I want to see. For example, in a company, it is not really possible to have the presentation server, application server, and the database server in one system due to many issues like security or scaling up the database. In SAP ABAP, I would like to see a report for an employee and all his details. So this is from a HR report perspective. What will happen is I will log in to SAP ABAP with my credentials. So this is the SAP GUI or the presentation server which we are talking about. So these are the application server details for which the SAP GUI has actually connected. When I open the system and I execute a particular query, the report or the result will be seen in this fashion. Here we have the details of user of an employee, his user ID, first name, last name, email ID, phone number, country, and salary. So as we can see here, so this is my front end. This is the select query, and this query goes to the application server. It contacts with the database layer. From front end, a query has gone to application server, and from there a request has been raised to RDBMS or database. The database checks if we have any details for the given query, and then from DB the data goes back to the application server and then comes to the presentation. So in this example, we are viewing our data in the presentation server called SAP GUI, but the application server and the backend are different. I don't have any database of this user info, this SAP data or anything. I don't have the data here. All the data is maintained in a server with the name. So what if my presentation server is not SAP GUI? What if I'm using an SAP Fiori application and I want to consume all the data in my SAP Fiori? Look at this. So this is my front end. So the data displayed here is same as the data which we have displayed from the ABAP program. Both the data is same because we are writing the same query, or we are executing the same query to fetch the data from a table called the user info. So how did my front end from the SAP UI5 or Fiori applications are able to contact with the ABAP server, with the application server? It is via OData. So I will show you what an OData application is and how it functions in the rest of the in the remaining classes. But for now, I just want you to know that how one query or one application server will be used in different presentation servers. So as we can see here, we are using the user info as the table, and this is the entity set. All the data comes into this set and it is displayed as a table in this example. So I think now we have got an idea on what an application server is, what a database server is, and what a presentation server is. The presentation server can be anything: SAP GUI, Fiori apps, mobile apps, etc. But all of the apps or all of the presentation server will point to one application server, and that application server sends request to the database server, and if the data is available, the data will be passed back from database to application and from application to the presentation server. So all the data. So step 1, the request goes to application server. Here all the operations and the transactions will happen in this server, and from here a query goes to the database server, and after a successful query or after we got a result, it goes to application server once again, and the data will be passed from application server to the front end. So this is the basic architecture of SAP. So in SAP, all the developments are done in a development system and we can test some of those things in another client called Sandbox. So a client is nothing but a number. It is a unique number which is used to differentiate between the systems. Initially, the development will be done in 100 or 101 client, 100 or 101 client. After that, it will be moved to quality and it will be tested by functional consultants. The output will be seen by management, business. So if everything goes well in quality as well, the object or the piece of code which we have written as an ABAPer, it will move to production server. Now this is the real-time server, and if there is any change, it has to come to development, and after that we will make the changes and move to quality and then production. It is not like we are writing the code in production directly. First we need to come to development. And here, if there is a chance or test data available, we will test it in Sandbox. So coming back to ABAP, what is the role of an ABAPer? An ABAPer in any organization, across all the modules, he has to work in the below objects. Those are called rise of objects: reports, interfaces, conversions, enhancements, forms, and workflow. So these are typically the things, this is the zone where an ABAPer actually works, and we will go through each and every object, so each and everything in detail in the next classes once we are ready. So as I said, you reports are nothing but uh, it can be like a bucket list, or it can be a sales report, HR report, material management report. It can be even a finance report. Interfaces are BAPIs. Conversions are the batch data conversions, which is used to load huge amounts of data from another system to our SAP system. Enhancements. So when coming to enhancements, these are, as the name suggests, we have an SAP system and we want some of the functionality to be enhanced. In those places we use enhancements. Coming back to forms, these are whenever we go to a supermarket, we will get an invoice. So forms are nothing but an invoice in a PDF format, which will be printed and given to the customer. So we will, okay, coming to workflow, we will do in-depth project or in-depth object. We will learn workflow in-depth in next classes. So these are nothing but if I have to ask my manager about the leave and I write him an email and I wait for 2 days and 3 days and I did not get a reply. What workflow does is I can directly trigger a workflow which goes to his inbox, and then I have to know if my manager approves the request or he rejects it. So it's like a work item in an email, and just not an email where I can track the progress as well. So we will go in depth in workflow in the coming classes. But for now, we have to remember the role of an ABAPer would be to do these objects called report, interfaces, conversions, enhancements, and forms. So see you in next class. Thank you. Bye.